Welcome to the Messy Studio, everyone. My name is Mark, and I'm an artist and an art professor. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the much anticipated Kaweco Sport Piston Filler. I'm going to put it through my usual series of tests, draw with it extensively, and tell you whether I think this pen is good for artists. Let's get started. Kaweco has acquired an enthusiastic fan base since the rebirth of the historic brand in 1994. And as someone who owns a number of Kaweco pens and pencils, I love their vintage-inspired designs, and I'm always curious to see what this company is doing next. And I particularly love my Kaweco Sports. They're small, go into lots of places a regular fountain pen can't, and when posted, extend to a comfortable, almost full-size length. Most importantly, and really this is their biggest advantage, they're super durable, which makes them ideal in a messy studio or out in the field. There's something about the design of the Sport that makes me not mind that it gets scratched up, and in fact, with this brass model, every scratch feels like a battle scar that adds to its attractiveness. These are one of the few pens that I will not hesitate to toss into a bag or my pants pocket with the car keys, and for that reason alone, they have become an everyday carry item essential to my compact sketching kit. The Sport is far and away the company's best-selling pen, and new versions are released all the time. But so far, I've resisted the urge to buy one in every possible color, feeling that 2 is enough. But now, after many years of research and development, the visionaries and futurists at Kaweco have come out with a truly new version of the Kaweco Sport, one with a built-in filling system, just like every Kaweco Sport until 1979. This hit right in my Achilles tendon, since I love pocket pens, and I love piston fillers, and as much as I tried, and believe me I tried, I couldn't resist and got one, justifying my purchase by saying it would make for a good review. Here's the Kaweco Sport Piston Filler next to a Kaweco Sport AL. One of the supposed difficulties the designers at Kaweco had to overcome is to make this pen the same size as the other Sports, and they actually overshot their goal, making the piston filler a millimeter shorter. Uncapped, however, the pens are exactly the same length, but posted, the cap on the piston filler sits a little bit deeper on the pen, making the pen about 3 millimeters shorter. These stats have no bearing on the pen's performance, however, just interesting to take note. Other, much more obvious differences is the presence of a light blue ink window, which is nice and necessary, but unfortunately can't be seen here because the pen is inked. Then we have an embedded clip, which can be removed if you unscrew the top like so. And then, of course, there's the blind cap, which, if you remove, reveals the piston knob, which has a little Kaweco emblem, which I think is a nice decorative touch. The weight of the pen is 23 grams, about the same as the regular AL Sport. And in terms of ergonomics, there are slight differences. One of my gripes with the AL Sport is the tiny grip section, with threading uncomfortably catching against the fingers. The same is true with the Piston Sport, though the threading is a touch less pronounced and smoother. With the regular Sport, I've managed to overcome this problem by holding the pen above the grip section entirely, and moving the fingers up and down the barrel depending on the length of the stroke I want to achieve. The piston filler is slightly less comfortable in this respect because, for some reason, the cap posts a few millimeters deeper, as I mentioned, which makes this area shorter, allowing for less play in the way I can grip the pen. This may be irrelevant for most of you, but for those of you that like some room in the barrel, this may be a minor issue. Now let's talk about the most interesting part of the pen, the piston filling mechanism. As mentioned, the blind cap unscrews to reveal the piston knob. This blind cap design goes back to some of the original Kaweco Sport piston fillers from the 1930s, and to my mind, makes perfect sense. These are meant to be pocket pens, and you don't want a piston filling pen with an exposed piston knob rattling around in your pocket. It also protects the knob from moving when the pen is posted, something that's an issue on a number of piston filling pens where you can accidentally turn the piston knob when you post the pen. For a pen that requires posting for regular use, the blind cap is essential. There have been some concerns that the blind cap is small and prone to being lost, but I don't see that as a cause for concern. An interesting feature of this pen is that the cap itself can be used to unscrew the blind cap, and then can hold that blind cap while the pen is being filled, lessening the chance that it'll roll away. However, if you're one of those people that are always losing small items, I would avoid purchasing expensive fountain pens altogether, since they are themselves small and prone to being lost. The piston mechanism itself works just fine, with a smooth operation and the ability to get a decent gulp of ink in just one pull. That said, the ink capacity in this pen is tiny, only 1.25 milliliters. While this is larger than the 0.8 milliliters of the standard short cartridge used by the Sport AL, consider that it's very difficult to get a complete fill with a piston filler, and you're likely carrying around the same amount of ink. This is unfortunate, since the only advantage piston fillers have, other than the ability to draw ink directly from a bottle, is their ink capacity, which is usually double or even triple of what it is in a cartridge converter. Otherwise, the cartridge converter pen is superior in every way. They're easier to clean and maintain, and since they have no moving parts, there's nothing that'll wear down and need replacing. Furthermore, with a cartridge converter, I can always carry extra cartridges in case I run out, and they can jiggle about in my pocket along with my pen. With a piston filler, I will have to lug along a vial of ink large enough that I can fill from it, something doable but certainly less portable. For a pocket pen specifically designed to be used in the field, this is a major disadvantage. Now let's discuss another divisive topic, which is the nib. This pen uses the same steel nibs that are found in other Kaweco Sport models, the only difference being that the housing units are shorter to accommodate the extra space needed for the filling mechanism. So, while the nibs from other Kaweco models are compatible with this pen, the housing units are not. Some people enjoy Kaweco nibs, while other people dislike them. I find them, well, let's see how I find them by conducting my proprietary, patented, and trademark protected series of tests. In the consistency department, this pen performed perfectly in every direction and at every speed, without skipping, burping, or dripping. Kaweco nibs are made by the German manufacturer Bock, and these nibs are featured in many high-quality pens, so the reliability here is no surprise. In the flex department, this pen is almost a nail, going from an extra fine all the way to an unimpressive fine. No one should be upset at the stiffness here, since this is not a flex nib, but the larger Bock nibs do have a bit more bounce and flexibility, and are actually some of my favorite non-flex nibs to draw with. In reverse writing, you can tease out an extra fine line, though the regular line is already so fine that you probably won't make use of it. So, in the flex test, my rating is a 1.5. Not quite a nail, but not as flexible as some of the other steel non-flex nibs out there. And in the wetness test, this pen was bone dry, consistent with my reviews of other Kaweco Sports. Dryness is not necessarily a bad thing. It makes the pen write finer and makes the lines dry faster, and allows you to work on cheaper papers with less feathering or bleed through. This is a pen that I would definitely use for very fine hatching, where many layers of hatch are required. Now let's conduct the ultimate test by doing a drawing, and as I draw, I'll give you my opinion on whether this pen is worth buying. I'm using my Talen's Art Creation sketchbook here, one of my favorites for pen and ink and other mixed media. One interesting thing is that the pen wrote wetter on this paper than on the Bristol paper, and the line was not nearly as fine. The surface here is similar, so I'm not sure what accounts for the change in performance. It goes to show what a difference the paper makes in how a pen performs. And really, for my writing test to be perfectly comprehensive, this should have been done on a variety of papers. But that would take too long and put everyone to sleep. At any rate, the drawing experience was more pleasant than I had expected, but still far from ideal. So, what to think of the Kaweco Sport? Well, this is a polarizing pen, even for those who are fans of this company. For some, its arrival is like the second coming, since they've been waiting for this pen to drop for over a decade. For others, this pen feels like another money grab for Kaweco, a company that often seems intent on riding its own coattails with every possible iteration of the same exact pen. On the one hand, just like every other Kaweco Sport, this is not the most comfortable pen. The section is too small for my taste, and I really wish it was a little grippier. While concessions have to be made to make a pen this small, there are a number of companies that make similarly sized pocket pens with adult-sized, more comfortable grip sections. I think there's no reason, other than an adherence to tradition, for Kaweco not to follow suit. On the other hand, this pen is designed specifically for travel, and is great for circumstances where you need to whip out a quick sketch. And since the less than optimal grip section only becomes an issue when you work with a pen for several hours, this criticism of the pen isn't particularly relevant. On the one hand, while the pen is super reliable, it's also dry, stiff, and not particularly interesting to draw with. This is a pen I would use because it's durable and portable, not because it's exciting to use. And that's a problem because if given a choice between a pen that is less convenient to carry but more fun to use, and a pen that's easy to carry but less fun to use, I would choose the former every single time. On the other hand, its dryness and stiffness make it better for papers that are less suitable for pen and ink, and it's good for certain styles of drawing that use fine lines and lots of cross-hatching. And if you don't like the nib, you can find one that is better. As I demonstrate in detail in my review of the brass Kaweco Sport, the great thing about these pens is that they're compatible with many No. 2 sized gold vintage nibs. That means that with a little hunting, you can replace the original boring steel nib with something truly special, like the gold semi-flex nib I have installed here. The process of replacing the nib is easy, usually requiring nothing but a small hack that I demonstrate in a video that I'll link to below. Paired with an excellent vintage gold semi-flex nib, this pen starts to sing, becoming something that I can't stop drawing with. And if you don't feel like hunting for a vintage nib, there are two other options. The Sport can be used with a semi-flex nib from a Noodler's Creeper, or much better, but more expensive, you can order a custom-made semi-flex steel nib from fpnibs.com. On the one hand, the fact that this pen has a small ink capacity, even though it has a built-in filling system, is a problem. This negates the main advantage of piston fillers, leaving you with all the disadvantages. On the other hand, the piston filling system does allow you to fill directly from ink bottles, which come in a larger variety than cartridges. And while I often refill my cartridges with bottled ink, it's messy and there's no fully reliable way to seal them. And lastly, on the one hand, there's the issue of price, which in the US is a steep $160. This puts the pen solidly in gold nib territory, at least here in the States, where you can buy many of the superb gold nibbed pens made by Pilot, including the piston filling Pilot Heritage 92, for considerably less. You can make an argument that gold isn't necessarily better than steel, and that steel nibs can perform just as well. While this is true in some cases, the gold nibs on the Pilots are far and away better than the steel nibs that come on Kaweco Sports. Furthermore, the main advantage of the Kaweco Sport is its portability and abusability, which comes from the small size and also the small price. Though the Piston Sport is equally small and durable, the cost of this pen will make you hesitate to treat it with equal roughness, diminishing its value. And on the other hand, this undoubtedly is a well-designed, well-built product that is unique in the marketplace. While the Pilot Heritage 92 and the Pelican M200 are both small piston fillers in the same price range, these are both plastic pens not designed for the same degree of abuse as the Kaweco Sport Piston. Furthermore, this pen is made in Germany, where labor and manufacturing costs are higher than other parts in the world, and since I believe that Kaweco deserves to profit from their investment in their product, and that workers deserve to be well compensated for their labor, the issue of price, while it made me hesitate, ultimately didn't stop me from buying this pen. So, after so many arguments for and against, what is my final conclusion? Ultimately, whatever slight advantage the Kaweco piston filler has over its cartridge-filled cousins in terms of ink capacity is negated by the added difficulty of cleaning and maintenance. This, compounded by the price, leaves us with very little practical reason to purchase this pen, other than the fact that it's very cute and fun to use. But, lest you think that this will be a frivolous purchase, consider that in art making, the practical and the emotional are inexorably intertwined. The motivation to make art comes from many places, but one of them is simply the pleasure of working with nice materials. This might feel like a very rudimentary impulse, but not every work of art has to be inspired by the need to plumb the unsettling depths of the human psyche, or the desire to critique late-stage capitalism. We artists need to scrape together motivation where we can, and sometimes the easiest way is by picking up a really fun pen. So, if you're inclined towards purchasing this pen, not for the ink capacity, not for the performance, but rather for the cool factor of having a built-in filling mechanism in such a tiny, adorable package, I wouldn't hesitate, especially if you can get a better nib for it. I hope you enjoyed my review and meditations on the Kaweco Sport Piston Filler. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe and stay tuned for more fountain pen and art material reviews and drawing instruction. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you back in my messy studio very soon. Bye-bye.